the body receives more than food. Why does the same meal feel different on different days? Sometimes the food is the same, but the body is not. A person sits down with a meal. The table is quiet, but the body is still moving. Attention leans forward toward the next task, the next message, the next unfinished thought. The meal has begun, but part of the body is still rushing somewhere else. We often think the body receives food through the stomach alone, but perhaps the body begins receiving earlier. The body also responds to pace, to pressure, to the feeling of whether it can soften or not. Sometimes, even a simple meal can feel distant, not because the food changed, but because the state of the body changed. When breathing slows, the meal may feel closer. When the shoulders soften, the body may begin to settle. This is not about eating perfectly. Modern life is not always quiet, but perhaps the body still needs small moments where receiving becomes possible. Before digestion, before nutrition, before the first bite, the body's already listening, and in the next episode, we will explore how breathing changes the direction of attention inside the body. Where is your attention? Have you ever noticed that your body can be in one place while your attention is somewhere else? The meal is here, the table is here, but the mind is already moving ahead, toward tomorrow, toward a message, toward something that has not happened yet. This happens quietly. Most of the time, we do not even notice it. The body sits, but attention travels. Breathing may be part of this. We often think of breathing as something automatic. Air comes in, air goes out. But breathing also changes how we experience a moment. When the breath becomes shallow, attention often moves outward, toward noise, toward plans, toward unfinished thoughts. When the breath slows, attention may begin to settle, not because we force it to, but because the body feels easier to inhabit. This is why a single breath can sometimes feel different. Nothing outside has changed. The room is the same. The meal is the same. Yet the body feels slightly closer. Perhaps attention is not only guided by the mind. Perhaps it is also shaped by the state of the body. And perhaps this is why moments of pause have existed in so many traditions. Not to stop thinking, not to become perfect, but to return to the table, to the meal, to where we already are. Sometimes a single breath does not change the world, but it can change where we are, the way we meet a meal. Sometimes a meal becomes another task to complete. The food is on the table. The meal is begun, but part of the mind is already moving ahead toward the next task, the next appointment, the next thing to finish. And without noticing, the way we eat begins to change. The eyes move quickly. The hands move quickly. The meal becomes something to get through, not something to receive. This is not a problem of speed alone. It is also a question of how we arrive at the meal. Sometimes we are eating, but we are also leaving the table. leaving the moment, leaving what is here. The body notices this, not as a thought, but as an experience. The meal is not only food, it is also a way of meeting the moment. How we chew, how we pause, how we look, how we move. All of these become part of the experience. The body receives more than nutrients. It also receives the way the meal is lived. Perhaps this is why the same food can feel different on different days, not because the meal changed, but because the way we met it changed. The body remembers. The body remembers what happens often, not because it is trying to, but because repetition leaves traces, a way of standing, a way of breathing, a way of moving through a meal. At first, these are only moments, small choices, small habits, small patterns. But over time, they begin to feel familiar, and what feels familiar often begins to feel normal. This is not always good, and it is not always bad. It is simply how the body learns. The body does not remember through ideas alone. It remembers through experience, through repetition, through what happens again and again. Perhaps this is why small moments matter, not because a single meal changes everything, but because the way we meet one meal can quietly become the way we meet many things. Attention, breath, food. The body receives them, and over time, the body remembers them. Perhaps the body is always listening and always learning.